all, it's Kia of Kia Comments, and I'm back with another video. Today is going to be my June wrap-up of the books that I read in June, and I'm just going to get right into it. The first book that I read was Anna Freeman's The Fair Fight. I've done a book review on this. I'll leave the link to that below. This book follows Ruth, who was born into a brothel, and she turns into a bare-knuckle boxer in 18th century Bristol. I found this book extremely engaging. I loved the different narrative voices. I think there are 3 people who narrate this novel, and I really liked the fact that we were steeped in a place, and the language that Anna Freeman uses in this novel further steeps readers in this place. If you liked The Crimson Petal and the White, this book is for you. But in June was The Martian by Weir. And it follows an astronaut, Mark Watney, who has been left behind and presumed dead by a team of astronauts on Mars. Watney wakes up and has to make it work. He has to figure out how to survive on Mars. That's the beginning of the novel, and the novel goes from there. This too, like Anna Freeman's The Fair Fight, was a very engaging, plot-driven narrative. The other thing that I liked about this book was the ambition on the writer's part to tell the story from different perspectives. Not from different perspectives in terms of characters, although we do get that, but different perspectives in terms of voice. So we have first person and we have third person close. It didn't always work. Sometimes I found the transition between first person and third person jarring, but it was really ambitious. I loved the science part of this particular novel. It was really well researched, and Mark Watney, the protagonist, is really funny. So if you like that blend of science narrative, if you like a wry and ironic protagonist, this book is something that you should check out. The third book is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslye Walton. I didn't enjoy this book as much as I thought I would. The book didn't seem to have a plot, really, and I tend to be more of a character-driven reader, but the characters weren't delved into enough for me to forgive the fact that there was also not really a plot with which I could ground myself in. Having said that, the book does deal with issues that I think are really important to young women, and this is a YA novel. Issues of identity, issues of who you are in the world and how you should be, and Ava Lavender, who is born with wings, is trying to figure that out. In trying to figure out who she is and how she fits in the world, Ava Lavender looks at her past. She looks at her grandmother and she looks at her mother, and we get the trials and tribulations of the women in Ava Lavender's family, and we finally circle back to Ava Lavender and we see how she deals with her own personal trials and tribulations. There is a lot of magical realism in this book, and at times I found the magical realism worked, and at other times I found that the magical realism didn't work. So this book was a bit spotty in terms of its pacing. I picked this book up because Jen Campbell said in her "If you like this, then you'll like this" video that anybody who likes Jeffrey Eugenides' Middlesex should investigate this book, and she's definitely right. Those 2 books have deep parallelisms, but I thought that Eugenides went into the depth and what made his characters work a bit more than Leslye Walton does in The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender. The Shore by Sara Taylor is the next book on my list, and I've done a full review for this book. I'll leave the link for that review below. This too was a book that I didn't love. This was a very ambitious book and follows a set of inhabitants over a 200-year span on 3 coastal Virginian islands. Like Ava Lavender, this book also has elements of surrealism and magical realism that I bought into and that I didn't buy into. And also, like Ava Lavender, this book follows very strong female narratives. What this book had that I really did appreciate was strong female characters. Particularly, I liked the female character Chloe, who opened the book. She opens the book as a child and she closes the book as an adult. I liked seeing her progression. And there is a female character who is the great-grandmother of Chloe, I think, in the novel, who I also liked following. She is born maybe 100 years earlier than Chloe, and she has to deal with being a female and being smart and outwitting the men that she surrounds. I really appreciated that about the book. Thread by Anne Tyler. This book was good. It was quite good. I really enjoyed it. I didn't come into it with any particular knowledge. I know it was buzzed about, but I didn't really follow up on the buzz. And I know too that Anne Tyler is an extremely well-respected writer in the literary world, but I've never read anything by her. So I kind of came to this book without any suppositions or presumptions or expectations. And I was really, really, really pleasantly surprised by how deeply I invested in the characters of this novel. We follow the Whitshank family as they just are a family. The family evolves, they devolve. We find out how Abby Whitshank and Red Whitshank got together. They are the nucleus of the family. We find out about their 4 children. One of their children is a total mess, and I really resented him, but whenever he was on the page, my eye followed him. We find out about Red's parents and how Red's parents got together. And this novel has elements of dealing with class, but mostly it just has elements of dealing with how you never really know what's going on in a family unless you're in that family. And Anne Tyler takes these very small moments and just magnifies them. And it is deeply relatable. I think that anybody who liked the book Olive Kittredge by Elizabeth Strout would also like this novel. A pleasure to read. The final book in my wrap-up is also the favorite book of my wrap-up. I really loved this book. This was so good. It is The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Haroldfrey by Rachel Joyce. This is similar to Anne Tyler's A Spool of Blue Thread in that it looks closely at a family's unraveling and coming together. Haroldfrey is an older British man who gets a letter from his friend Queenie Hennessy. The letter reveals that Queenie Hennessy is ill, and Harold, who has not spoken to Queenie Hennessy, feels very sad about it and writes a response letter, goes to post it, and keeps on walking. He keeps on walking to where Queenie Hennessy is located, and the walk becomes a pilgrimage. Outside of revealing family tragedies and family coming together, this book also is kind of a Messiah story. There were definitely, for those of you who are Christian, Jesus elements to this novel. Don't let that put you off for those of you who don't like religion. There are Jesus elements that I did not mind. I did not find abrasive at all. And by Jesus elements, I mean Harold is on this walk and no one notices him at first. And then he becomes this sensation and people take up his cause for their own personal reasons. And then they fall off and we're left with Harold again. The other reason that I found this kind of pilgrimagey, that's not a word, but just rock with me here, is because of the ruminations and the revelations that Harold has that I tend to associate with going into oneself and digging deep in order to know oneself better. And Harold definitely does this in this novel. This novel is something that you'd like if you read A Spool of Blue Thread by Anne Tyler and liked that. And also if you read Elizabeth Strout's Olive Kittredge and liked that. I just had a brain fart there. I don't know. I don't know, y'all. In any case, that's it. 6 books in the 6th month. Keep reading, keep writing, keep reviewing, rate, comment, and subscribe. Bye now.